Okay, very good afternoon to all of you. For those of you who just joined us, my name is Wally Rada. I'm your host for Biz Talk 104. Thank you for joining me. I'm coming to you live from the city of Bishkek in Kyrgyzstan. For those of you who haven't been here, it's a beautiful country. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about a very critical element of any business mind or any businessman's thoughts, and that is the cost of the most valuable asset that any business has. Its number one asset. It's people. Human capital is every organization's most valuable asset. After the technology, after the trade secret, they need people in order to make it happen. So when you think of human capital is any company's most valuable asset. Let's learn today about what it requires to basically be able to plan and manage the human capital budget, or what we know as the working capital budget, or workforce budget, or manpower planning budget. Let's go through it and look at manpower planning as it is today and how you can do it fairly easily, whether in your own business or whether if you ever have the chance to do it for your company or your boss. Let me share my screens. A moment, please. Just one moment. Okay, here we go. Let me share my screen and let's go on. Okay, so today we're talking about manpower planning and how we can manage our workforce. What do we need to do to effectively plan and manage a workforce? Okay, all right, here we go. So today, let's look at firstly, what is human resources and why are they responsible for the actual people capital of the company? Why are they responsible for the very most important and most critical asset that any company has, which is people? HR is a department or a function in an organization that is charged with recruiting, screening, training of people, the human capital of the company. It also administers payroll and employee benefits to these people. It plays a key role in helping companies deal with fast-changing business environments and greater demand for quality employees in the 21st century. Today, more than ever, employees are very much focused on giving quality or being productive, but they want to be part of it. They want to feel it. They want to be there when the results come and that company celebrates. They want to be heart, in the pulse of what happens. And that's really important for any business owner to know how his business is being run or what's happening in his or her business. Human resources in business is really important. There is a number of functions that a HR department does, and they're all related to what we're going to learn today about manpower planning. Recruiting, hiring, and onboarding new employees, handling employee compensation and benefits matters, offering employee job careers or career development opportunities, addressing work-related issues of individual employees, and developing policies that affect a working environment company-wide and a working environment that is going to be one that employees enjoy and employees are happy to be at. So, human resource departments also handle employee compensation and benefits. How much do employees get compensated and what benefits are they entitled to? Human resource management strategies focus on actively advancing the organization's human resources practice and making sure that people are listening to their employees, not just hearing their employees. Some companies today have moved outsourced traditional HR, administrative duties such as payroll and benefits to outside vendors. Okay, so some companies have moved to outsource traditional HR, administrative duties such as payroll and benefits to outside vendors. So what does that mean? Some companies have decided that it's no point employing someone to look after HR and just to pay salaries once a month when they've only got 20 or 30 employees. So today it's quite known that some small companies will outsource their HR function to a third party who will then come to the business's office every week, make sure they collect all the necessary feedback, and they will upload the results or numbers of people who attend and give them back to the company. So, for example, this company has 20 people working in a factory and you've outsourced your HR. So every time an employee clocks in with their fingerprint, that is registered through the company's computer database. And then that database also shares the information with the outsourced HR company who has to pay these people salaries. So if they haven't registered their attendance in the morning and then registered their attendance when they go home, then they won't be paid because they're considered to be absent. So all of these functions are functions that are very important for a HR department. A HR department is not really a back-end department. It's one of the most important components of any company because HR is responsible for one of the most valuable assets a company has. That is its people. I repeat, it's people. Human resources can ensure business harmony by implementing various strategies and practices aimed at fostering positive relationships between employees and employers, as well as enhancing overall organizational effectiveness. Very, very simple statement. Do you all understand what that means, or would you like me to explain it? Does anybody not understand what I mean by fostering positive relationships? Anyone? Put your hand up if you don't understand. You all understand? Wonderful. All right. Could I make sure, please, that you all have your cameras switched on so that you understand today's lesson, please? Could everybody switch on their cameras, please? Okay, good. So remember, fostering relations means to build relations, to make them stronger between the employer and the employee. One moment. Okay, so let me go back to the slide. Okay, let me share my screen again. One moment, please. Okay, here we go. Okay, so fostering positive relationships between the employee and their employer is very important. The employer is the company and the employee. Because if the employee becomes dissatisfied and walks away, it puts a burden on the employer to have to find someone else and train them all over again. Okay, so why is human resources important in business? Human resources is important because it can promote business harmony through the implementation of various strategies and practices, as well as fostering positive relationships between employees and employers. And it can enhance overall business organizational effectiveness because whoever wants to manage this HR process has to be a people person. They have to be able to build positive and lasting relationships with the people they talk to and the people they employ. Very, very important. Okay, so let's go on. We talked about here about human resources can promote business harmony through the implementation of various strategies. Let's look at more. Human resources activities in business. Their activities or their function is managing and using people effectively. They're basically there to ensure people. Tying performance appraisal and compensation to competencies, developing competencies that enhance individual organizational performance, increasing the innovation, creativity, and flexibility necessary to enhance competitiveness, applying new approaches to work, design, succession planning, career development, and interorganizational mobility. And what do we mean by that? New approaches to interorganizational mobility. That means how different branches or different locations of the company can become active. Mobility. All right, managing the implementation, integration of technology through improved staffing, training, and communication with all employees. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? These are critical HR business activities. All right, so what are the 12 P's of HR? What are the 12 areas of HR? Can anyone tell me what are the 12 areas of HR? We've got administrative responsibilities, number one. Does everybody understand that? Okay, then we've got human resource planning responsibilities, recruitment and selection responsibilities, performance management, learning and development, career planning, function, evaluation, rewards, industrial relations, employee participation and communication, health and safety, well-being, and then Facebook. All right, so just hear me, guys. If we don't want to put Facebook here, forgive me, if I don't use Facebook here, we can basically put admin responsibilities. All right, so basically, admin responsibilities, administrative responsibilities are responsibilities to do with everything with communicating with employees, whether it's on WhatsApp, Instagram, or whatever channel employees have to communicate with your HR department. Now, some companies use Facebook and they have a chat directly to the HR department. I don't recommend that. All communication with the HR department should be via an intranet, which is an internal network system, not an external internet line that you rent from outside or a public internet service. All right, so the main function is communicating and making sure you have open communication with all employees, new and old. The next one is planning human resource functions and planning the activities of HR and how many responsibilities each member of the HR team carries. So these are core functions of employing people, and they relate directly back to today's way of operating. Does everybody understand that? Can you put your hands up? Come on, everybody understand what I've said so far? Yes or no? Can you put your hand up if you understand, please? Come on, show me your hand if you understand. Anyone? Come on, everybody, show me your hand. Very good, excellent. If you don't understand, please ask. Don't just sit there like a zombie. Ask. Okay? All right, let's go on. Let's talk to Anna May. Anna, do you understand what I just spoke about, Anna? Anna May? Okay, Anna, I'll talk to you later. Who else have I got here? Let's look for some of our regulars. Hi, Janice Romero, how are you? Do you understand what I just explained, Janice? Are you there, Janice? Okay, good, excellent. So remember, HR plays a critical role, and that critical role is the essence or the basis for managing a company's most valuable asset. Irregardless of the building, irregardless of the machinery, without the human capital asset, companies would not function. Let's go on. So as I said earlier, we're talking about administrative responsibilities, communicating with employees on Facebook and social media, human resource planning, about planning how many other employees you need at certain times of the year, recruitment and selection, performance management, learning and development, career planning, function elevation or function evaluation, where you evaluate the job and the function to see if you need to make it a more difficult job and deserve a higher pay or leave it where it is. You have rewards, industrial relations, employee participation and communication, and finally, health and safety of all employees. So, does everybody understand that so far? Yes or no? Yes? Now, the question you're going to come to and ask me is, all right, what does this all mean? How does that make sure that we get the right salary that's in competition or in line with the market? Is that what everybody's asking me? Put your hand up if that's your question. You want to know, how do you make sure you're getting the right salary based on what you're worth in the market? Okay, let's go on with our presentation and I'll explain. All right, so the HR function is all about knowing the future needs of the organization. What kind of people does the company want to hire or does it need? How many do they need? Knowing this will shape recruitment, selection, performance management, learning, development, and all other human resources functions. Because they know what the department wants during the year and they can remind the department and manage. In brief, human resource planning is a continuous data-driven process to make sure that the organization has all the right people in all the right places in all the right time. Okay, does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Very good. Excellent. Remember, human resource is planning on a continuous basis, and they're very much data-driven process to make sure that the organization has the right people in the right place at the right time. Okay, let's go on. Let's talk about human resource planning, HRP. The first step is strategic approach, aligns HR strategies with organizational goals. Next one is comprehensive scope, encompasses recruitment, training, development, performance management, and employee relations. And as you go down, focused on human capital, it's again at middle level or at basic level where they emphasize developing and utilizing employee skills through knowledge. Okay, so you get more people at strategic level than you do at simple. Okay, does everybody understand that? Because if you approach these employees at a strategic level and explain to them why what you're doing is important, it'll be much easier to retain them and to probably get the right answer. Let's go on. So, human resources planning. What is human resources planning? Can everybody look at this and make note? Because this will be in your exam. Human resource planning is about increasing your company's productivity, implementing managerial activities, motivate your employees, increase the productivity, avoid manpower shortage and excess. All right, so where were we up to? Increasing productivity, avoiding manpower shortage and excess, and evaluating demand and supply of resources on a regular basis, probably every month. Increasing the quality of the people we hire and growing a competitive advantage over the others. Okay, does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Very good. Remember, it's all about you trying to make sure that the people you employ stay and that your company builds enough motivation and forgets the issues but focuses on the quality and the education you provide. All right, so increasing productivity, implementing managerial activities, motivating employees, again, increasing productivity, which is critical, avoiding manpower shortage and excess, evaluating demand and supply chain, increasing the quality of the hires we hire, and growing a competitive advantage. Does everybody understand that, guys? Yes or no? This is all part of the human resource planning system. Manpower planning, also known as workforce planning, is the process of identifying, analyzing, and addressing the current future staffing needs of a company. So it's all about you being able to establish how many people your business or your company needs to get through the year. And this is really important because if you plan ahead, you're able to put the budget in place ahead and you're able to make sure you have identified the right people for the job. Manpower planning process is estimating the optimum number of people required for a specific function, department, division, or business competing a project, task, or goal within time. So if you live in a country like Australia, where the man comes and sells you the biscuit or the donut or the cake at the door, you can then be specific and say, well, I want the same cake. I want 2 bags. And if he says, no, I don't have that cake, you don't buy from him. So manpower planning is all about putting the right people at the right job at the right time. Manpower planning is the process of estimating the optimum number of people required for a specific function, department, division, or business, and or completing a project, task, or a goal within time. Okay, so there are different types of manpower planning, guys. There are different types of manpower planning. The first one is what we call the tactical approach. Yes, the tactical approach by letter. The tactical approach focuses on long-term staffing, not 3 months, not 6 months for long-term. It focuses on 12 to 18 months or more. Okay, the next one is what we call the narrower scope. Primarily concerns recruitment, selection, and staffing. Remember, the tactical scope focuses on short-term staffing, not only 1 week, 1 month. It could be up to 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or, for some companies, short-term is up to 1 year. All right, so remember that. And focus on headcount emphasizes filling job openings within suitable candidates. And short-term perspective is addresses immediate staffing requirements. Okay, can you tell me which one do you believe is correct, Adina? Or, sorry, Christina, is it? All right, let's try somebody else. Kamencita. Hi, Kamencita. Which one do you think is more important, Kamencita? Can you talk to me? Hi, Kamencita. Kamencita? Okay. Are you there, Kamencita? Can you unmute your microphone and talk to me? Hi, don't be shy. Hello, how are you? Hi, Kamencita, how are you? Okay, do you understand what I mean by manpower planning? Do you understand what I mean by manpower planning, Kamencita?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, who can tell me what manpower planning is in their own words before we go on? What about you, Janice? What is manpower planning in your own words? Come on, Janice, try, don't be shy. What is manpower planning? I'll tell you in simple words. Manpower planning is estimating how many people you need to work for you, when, and how much it will cost. All right? How many people, when, how much it will cost. You need to make that plan in advance, Janice. All right. So if you open a new business, you need to have a manpower plan in order to establish what your monthly cost is going to be to keep that office open. Because let's ask ourselves a question, Janice. If you open a company and you employ 10 people, and at the end of the month you can't afford their salary, the company has to close. And that will damage your reputation as a company in front of your customer. So you always have to make sure that you go through proper manpower planning processes to calculate the cost of labor before you go into business. Do you understand that, Janice? Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, manpower planning is also known as workforce planning. And manpower planning is a critical fundamental component or competency of a HR job. But sadly today, there's thousands of people that say they're human resources officers, human resource managers, human resource clerks, and they have no idea what manpower planning is. The first thing you ask somebody that you want to employ as your HR secretary, your HR clerk, is tell me, what is a manpower plan? Show me a sample of a manpower plan that you have done. If they can't even plan your manpower, how do you expect them to look after your company's human resources? Do you understand what I mean by that, Janice? Janice, do you understand? Yes? Very good. All right. Raquel, Nicole, do you understand what I mean by manpower planning? Yes or no? Unmute your microphone. You want to ask me a question?
Uh, I thought, sir,
Yes,
you're
go ahead.
asking.
What's your question?
I thought, sir, you're asking us about an example of manpower planning that we
Yeah, give me an example. Go ahead.
here in Macau is like my boss have some rental apartments, and every time the ending of the contracts with those people, he is asking me to get manpower to clean the buildings. So I do that for him.
All right, okay. So what happens with your boss is he calls manpower at the end of the year. But if you're planning correctly, you should know that every year you have 6 apartments due to be vacated, and you should have a company that you deal with every 6 months if you outsource your cleaning. Now, if you employ a cleaner, then you don't need to because he's paid by you. But if you outsource your cleaning to a contractor, you would need to have a contractor that you deal with regularly, and you probably get a better price. Do you always go to the same cleaning contractor, or do you just employ people to do the cleaning once off? How do you do it, Michelle?
It's just the cleaning, sir. Actually, uh, the Chinese people, they like to pay less, so they just ask their employee to do the
Yeah,
task for them, to get the connection of the same
yeah.
Filipinos to work for them, not getting the services from their Chinese other company, because it's more
Okay, all right.
expensive. So
All
it's a
right. So
little
you
of
go
what
for a
I
cheaper option. Okay, I
yes.
understand that. All right. Well, that's okay if you're only cleaning service apartments, but if you're running a business, you can't do that. You would have to have a
Yeah.
structured method by which you plan ahead who's going to do the cleaning. For example, a hotel has to have housekeepers. If you have a hotel with 1,000 rooms, you can't call the Chinese cleaners every time a room checks out. So they would have to effectively manpower plan how many housekeepers they need. But very good example, Rochelle. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rochelle. Okay, so manpower planning is very important for the long-term survival of any company. All right, does everybody understand that? Very, very important. Can you imagine what would happen to Philippine Airlines if they had a flight going from Manila to New York and no flight attendants turned up for work because no one scheduled flight attendants? They didn't have enough flight attendants to service that aircraft. So when you got to the airport, they said, sorry, we don't have enough airline flight attendants, so we can't fly to New York today. The airline would damage its credibility because of the lack of manpower planning. There was no manpower planning to actually tell them exactly how many flight attendants they need on that day, knowing that it's a holiday season. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Yeah? I want you to remember a basic fact that companies will drive themselves. But in order for companies to drive themselves, and in order for the cash register to keep clicking, click, 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 money, 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 you need to have the most valuable asset a company can have. Can anybody tell me what's the company's most valuable asset? Tell me. What is a company's most valuable asset? Come on, wake up, everybody. You should know this. You've learned this before. What is a company's most valuable asset? Put your hand up if you know. Anyone? Good. Go ahead, John. John, what is a company's most valuable asset?
In my
Hi, John.
company,
John.
hi, good afternoon.
Yeah,
In
what's the
my,
company's most valuable asset?
of course, it's the employees.
Are you saying that its most valuable asset is equipment or its people?
The people, employees.
Very good, John John. And the reason for that, you can have $1 million worth of equipment, but if you don't have people to run that equipment, the equipment will be switched off. You don't make money. So there's a lot of smart asses out there that say the most important asset or most valuable asset in the company is the equipment. That's absolutely stupid. There's no logic in that. If you have the equipment but don't have people to operate it, you don't make money. First, you need the people, they need the equipment, and then they need a product to manufacture in order for you to make money. Would you agree with that, John John? Would you agree with that? Thank you very much. Okay, Gigi, you put your hand up. Gigi, what have you got to say about manpower planning? Gigi? Are you there, Gigi? Okay, I'll come back to you. Yeah, can you switch on your camera, please, Gigi? You need to have your camera on in order to get a certificate. So if you just keep your camera switched on, please, that's okay. I know you're a regular, so please keep your camera switched on. Gigi, can you tell me, do you understand what I mean by the fundamental of manpower planning? Do you understand why people are your most valuable asset?
Exactly, yes, that's true. Because the people that you're going to hire is the one who will run your business, and without them, the company or the business won't be working.
Very good, excellent. Thank you, Gigi. Very good example. Thank you. Okay, let's go to one more example and we'll move on. Jovan Branito. Hi, Jovan. How are you today, mate? Good to see you, Jovan. Unmute your microphone for me, young man. Hi, Jovan. Hi, Jovan.
Hi, how are you? I'm good.
Good. Do you understand
Nice
what
to
I
see you,
said
sir.
about manpower planning so far?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'd
Okay.
like to add more. So
Yes, go
the
ahead.
company's most valuable asset is actually typically its employees, because employees bring
It's
skills,
people. Very good. It's
creativity,
human capital.
innovation, and knowledge that drive a company's success.
Very good. Absolutely right. The most important or most valuable asset a company has are its people. Its number one asset. It's people. Thank you very much, Jovan. All right. So let me give you an example. A restaurant, a five-star restaurant. The restaurant is busy because of the menu. The menu is created by the chef and the people in the kitchen. So without the restaurant having the right people and the right chef, the restaurant would have nothing to sell. Your people are your most valuable asset. And the only way you can secure the right people at the right time, at the right price, is by having correct manpower planning in place. And no, it's not just about going out, Janice, and saying, I need to hire a waitress today. I asked my friend, how much do you pay your waitress? Your friend says $10 an hour. So Janice hires a waitress. That's not effective manpower planning. That's Janice wasting her money. Because before Janice hires that waitress, she needs to establish what experiences that waitress needs to have and how much is the market rate for that waitress. Just because your friend is paying $10, it doesn't mean that that's the correct price. Because if Janice employs the waitress at $10 and 2 days later, after she's trained her, the restaurant next door says, I'll pay you $11, it's the market rate. Guess what will happen to that waitress, Janice? She'll say, bye-bye, Auntie Janice. I'm going to work next door. They pay me $1 more an hour. And then Janice will say, what? I'll pay you that. And she'll say, no, too late now. I accepted the job next door. Does everybody understand what I'm saying about that? Manpower planning is a critical element to any business chemistry. It's like baking a chocolate cake, ladies and gentlemen. When you bake a chocolate cake, you need chocolate. If you can't have chocolate in a chocolate cake, it's not a chocolate cake. If you do not have an oven to bake the cake, you can't bake a cake. It's the same thing. If you don't have a business idea and the right people to make that idea happen, you might as well not open a business. You'll fail. And that's a fact. Let's go on. Okay, so the tactical approach, the narrow approach, the focus on headcount approach, emphasizes filling job openings with suitable candidates, and the short-term perspective means addresses immediate staffing requirements. Okay, the tactical approach and the short-term perspective are two perspectives which you should only take if you have to. The one that should be actually done more effectively is focus on headcount, emphasizes filling job openings with suitable candidates and knowing when the right headcount is required. Focus on headcount approach is the most beneficial approach to any company. Okay, why do we need manpower planning? Why? Why do we need manpower planning? People in business often work on forecasting and upcoming opportunities in the pipeline. If these opportunities convert into actual business, they would need manpower to start working on them. But the dilemma is that what if they hired a large number of people to work on almost sure project, but at the last moment the project didn't start because the client couldn't pay the deposit? What do you do with the additional manpower? You fire them, and then you look bad and they won't work for you again. They've only been working for you for 1 month. The other dilemma is that if they kept waiting till the last moment for a project, and when the project starts, they might not have enough manpower to work and deliver. These questions are solved by the process of manpower planning. Because with manpower planning, you can find out how many people you have now, how much they can handle, how many more people do you need, what skills do they have to have. You can start advertising for them, and you will know how much you need to pay them. So exactly when it's time to start, you can actually employ them. You don't have to go searching and wasting time. Manpower planning also includes details like how and when will new employees be acquired. This whole process is done keeping in view goals of the organization, the future predictions of the business, and changing technology trends. It helps the business be prepared for the future with correct manpower at their disposal for business prosperity. I need to ask a simple question to all of you, because I think some of you don't think clearly sometimes. When you want to eat and you're hungry, you look for a restaurant to eat at. You already plan to eat. You know you want to eat dinner tonight. It's not something you're going to think at the last minute. The only decision you're going to make at the last minute is which restaurant to eat at. If you're running a business and you know what the business is about, you know when you're going to be busy and when you need the manpower. You should have that manpower defined. You should know how much it's going to cost you, what the market rate is, and you should be ready to go out and hire them without having to worry about how much you're going to cost you. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Can you wave your hands? Can everybody wave their hands for me, please? Louis? Thank you. All right, so let's go on, and don't worry, I'm going to give you an Excel sheet today, a working Excel sheet. whereby you can start manpower planning for the business you run, even if it's a restaurant. I am going to give you the formula, okay? So now, even if you run a little restaurant in Manila with 6 people, you're going to start calculating the cost of your manpower, and you may realize that you're not paying enough or you're paying too much to some people. Because only when you manage your manpower will you know whether you're maximizing your profit. Do you know that manpower eats into your profit? Yes or no? It does, right? It eats into your profit. Do you know that on average, a McDonald's restaurant spends less than 20% on its food costs and more than 31.5% on manpower costs? So 20% in the dollar goes to food costs, 30% or 31% goes to manpower costs. The balance takes out other costs and profit. All right. So if you're talking about McDonald's, I'm talking on a global perspective, not on a local perspective. Now, on a local perspective in Manila, a McDonald's restaurant, depending on its turnover and the number of staff, they probably run 20% food costs and 15 to 20% labor costs, depending on where they are and the labor mix they employ. If they employ 4 full-time staff during the day and then 6 school kids to work in the afternoon after school, the school kids are cheaper, so they reduce their manpower costs. But if they employ adults on full-time monthly salaries to run the store from opening to closing, their manpower costs will go up. And McDonald's never do that. They employ full-timers and what they call part-timers or casual employees to work for 4 hours a day. They reduce their operating costs. It's called manpower planning. Does everybody understand that? So McDonald's know in Manila, their restaurant's going to be busy from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for lunch, so they have more people work. Then it's going to get busy again at 4 p.m. till 9 p.m. because of dinner. They bring in more people. Then from 9 p.m. to midnight, it's going to be quiet, so they reduce the people and send them home. They pay less hours. This is all known as manpower planning. Okay, let's go on. Okay, so the whole process of manpower planning, ladies and gentlemen, is done keeping in view the goals of the company. So what is manpower planning? Step 1 is analyzing the current manpower inventory you have. For example, if T. Tui Hao Tran operated a restaurant and she had 5 people in the kitchen, but during lunch, they only serve 40 people. She doesn't need 5 people in the kitchen because when she employed those 5 people, she did not take into account how many people she needs. Now, by the time it comes to dinner, the 5 people had been working all day, and by dinner time, only 2 of them stay, the 3 go home. Then at dinner time, she's not able to provide this level of service needed because she had more staff working during the wrong time of the day. Step 2, making future manpower forecasts based on when you're busy or when you're not busy. Developing employment programs so you know which people you want to employ and how much you want to pay them. And last but not least is making sure you have training programs to train these people as quickly as possible so they can do the job. So let's look at steps in manpower planning. I want you all to listen to these because these are your secret tools to operating correct manpower planning. Number 1, workforce analysis, where you assess the current state, including the skills, the strengths, the weaknesses, and the demographics of your employees. How active are they? Are they too old and get tired too quickly? You address everything about your workforce. Number 2, You have a forecast. You predict future staffing needs based on business objectives, industry trends, and external factors. For example, if Golden open a shop selling bikinis, ladies' bikinis, the girls that sell the bikinis have to be attractive young models, probably between 18 and 24 with beautiful bodies, long hair, perfect makeup, and they want to attract other ladies to come and buy the bikinis. And probably he'll have two guys there with good muscles wearing nice leather t-shirts. So when the girls come in, they look at the guys and say, wow, okay? And then buy the bikini because there's a good looking male guy selling the bikini. So all of these are part of workforce analysis and the demographics of the people that you want to work for you. Gap analysis. Identify the gaps between what you have employed now and what your future staffing needs are. Then you must do job analysis to understand what the job requires. What are its roles? What are its responsibilities? And what are its requirements? For example, you may have a chef and 5 cooks in the kitchen, but you don't need 5 cooks. You only need 1 chef and 3 cooks. The other 2, you're paying too much salary. You don't need cooks. What you need is assistants, kitchen hands that peel vegetables, cut meat, clean fish, wash dishes. They don't need to be cooks. But no, some restaurants don't understand that. They employ 5 cooks and pay 5 cooks' salaries, but only 3 of them work as cooks. The others are just peeling apples, peeling potatoes, cutting carrots, washing fish. Why do I pay them a cook's salary? Does everybody understand what I'm saying, guys? Yes or no? Okay, for order to decide what jobs you need to hire, you need to do job analysis. Once you've got your forecast and your job analysis, then you go on to the recruitment, or what we call the strategic planning part. You develop a plan, an action to do recruitment, a plan on how to train them as soon as you employ them. You have a succession plan to show them that if you start working for me as a waitress today, one day you can be a manager. You make sure you're paying them the right salary to retain them, retention, and you need to understand what happens if you need to make people redundant. Say you employ them today, and in 6 weeks' time, your restaurant doesn't make money. Can you afford to pay them a redundancy package? For those of you who don't know what a redundancy package, when you employ someone in countries like Singapore, Australia, or the Philippines, and you terminate them at last minute without notice, you are required to give them redundancy pay, whether it's 1 week a month or 1 day for every month they've worked. It depends on the country that you're in. Usually it's 1 week per year or 1 day per month, depending on the countries in which you operate. All right, so let's talk about important functions in the job of manpower planning. Before you can start manpower planning and do all of these things, all right, all these things here, workforce analysis, forecasting, gap analysis, job analysis, and strategic planning, you need to start with the first one, which is part of job analysis. And this is function evaluation. There are 3 different ways of internally ranking functions. So first you have to decide which functions in your company are most important. And for each function, how many jobs do you need? And for each job, how many people that you need? Okay, so for example, if you employ a chef and let's say an executive chef, a sous chef, and a kitchen hand, the executive chef would get 1 level of salary, the sous chef would get a lower salary, and the kitchen hand would get the lowest salary. If you employ waiters and waitresses, they would both get the same salary. It's just that one is a male, one's a female. For example, if you have waiters, waitresses, and then you have a greeter, a door greeter, or a junior captain, they would also get the same salary as a waiter or a waitress. If you had a maitre d', which is responsible for the restaurant, he would get a higher salary than a captain because the captain would report to the maitre d'. Usually, in most companies, they classify jobs into different categories using classification methods. For example, it can be based on education, experience, specialization. Some companies will use what we call a job grading system or a job evaluation system, which I'll tell you about shortly. And the last one they use is the personal method. In this method, the job itself is not evaluated, but the person doing the job is. And that happens when somebody like, let me give you an example. Somebody like Brighton has a company, and Brighton was walking around one day and he saw this person that was doing really well. This person was a cleaner in another restaurant. Brighton never thought of having a cleaner. But because he saw this person and liked them, he offered them the job as a cleaner. He doesn't know what their qualifications are. He doesn't know whether they're experienced to clean his restaurant, but he did it on a personal basis, a personal method, which is not always the correct method. Do you understand that, Brighton? Okay. Function evaluation helps HR departments ensure that the company is successful at both strategic level with service delivery and support. Okay, let's start with the first one in the list. We said job analysis, number 4. What is job analysis? I want you all to take note. It means defining the job roles and responsibilities, identifying necessary skills and qualifications, developing job descriptions and specifications, informing recruitment and selection processes, guide employee training and development, evaluate job performance, determine compensation and benefits, and identifying potential job hazards and safety concerns. These are the reasons why we do job analysis. Now, if you all need to learn how to do job analysis, please message me. I'll arrange a session and do a session on job analysis where I give you a template and a library of job descriptions that you can use. But we'll need to do that in another lesson, okay? All right, let's go to the job description. So job analysis is the first step where you look into the job to understand what the job needs and requires. The second step is a job description, which is a document you're going to prepare based on your job analysis. This will have the job title, job summary or purpose, the key responsibilities and duties, the required skills and qualifications, what education, if any, what experience, what are the physical and mental demands, what are the working environments and conditions, what are the performance standards and goals that people will have to meet for this job, and who will they report to, the general manager, the restaurant manager, the service manager. Now, can I ask you, if you're applying to work as a flight attendant, what else would be in this job description? Can anyone tell me? What else would be in the job description if you're looking to work as a flight attendant? Who can tell me? Put your hand up, please. You want to work for an airline as a flight attendant. What would be the next requirement? Anyone know? Come on, guys. Mient 2, do you know what the next requirement for a flight attendant would be? Go ahead. There's one requirement that's not in that job description. What would it be?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Hi. Yeah, if you want to, if you want to apply, if you want to write a job description for a flight attendant, there's one thing that's missing in that job description. What do you think it would be?
Hello?
Yeah, can you
Hello,
hear
sir?
me? Yeah, I can hear you, Mint. Can you hear me?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead, Mint. What
Sorry, sir.
is something that you would find in the job description for a flight attendant that's not in the job description that I showed you? Can you tell me? I can't hear you, Mint. Can you hear me? Okay, I'll come back to you, Mint. It's okay. All right, let's go to someone else. Anna, what do you think that is, Anna? Hi, Anna. Can you unmute your microphone? Go ahead, Anna. What do you think that is missing from the job description?
It's the height, sir.
Height, weight, height, and weight. And height has to be in proportion to weight, and also their medical ability, medical fitness. Medical fitness, height in
Wait,
proportion to weight.
this what
Okay? Does everybody know why they would be on the job description of a flight attendant? The reason they would be on the job description is because international aviation law requires a flight attendant to be of a certain height and a maximum weight. Otherwise, she could endanger other passengers if she can't reach the life vests, which are stored under the seat, or she can't reach the oxygen mask, which is stored above the seat, and if she can't reach the luggage storage area above the passenger's head. So a flight attendant has to have a certain height and a certain weight in comparison to height ratio in order to be able to actively work on a flight. And not only that, in order to operate life rafts or safety equipment if the aircraft goes down. Okay, so every job has physical requirements. For a flight attendant, her height, her weight, height in proportion to weight. Okay, now, if somebody wants to join the army, they have to be able to run 100 meters in so many seconds. It's a physical requirement. Okay, so each job has different requirements, and these are established during job analysis and described in the job description. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Very good. Okay, let's go on. Okay, so we've covered a job analysis and job description. Let's go on. The next one, or the next part of the job description, is to understand its purpose. The reason we write a job description is to help us recruit people, to help us do proper performance evaluation to make sure they're doing the job we employed them for. It's to help us decide what training we need to do. And more importantly, it's to help us decide what salary they should get. And it's used as a guide in case we need to create more similar jobs as a guide for the job analysis process. And it also makes sure that if I'm employing waiters or waitresses, the job does not breach the law or is in line with the legal requirements for a waiter or waitress in your country. For example, you cannot tell a waiter or a waitress to go outside and sweep the footpath. It's not their job. That's the cleaner's job. In certain countries in Europe, a waiter or a waitress will not wash dishes, especially in countries like Italy or Turkey. A waiter is an experienced professional that has to be trained for 2 years before he becomes a waiter. However, a waitress in the Philippines or Singapore do help to mop the restaurant, sweep the restaurant, clear the, sometimes go to the kitchen and wash dishes if needed. But in some countries, that would be in breach of labor laws. So you have to understand what are the labor laws in line with that job and its requirements. The next part, after you've got job analysis and job description, you would have to do what we call job evaluation to evaluate how much to pay as salary for that job. All right, so that is the next part of the process. Okay, job evaluation is a systematic process to determine the relative value of a job within an organization. All right, so the purpose of job evaluation is to determine fair compensation and benefits. establish internal equity and consistency in job grading, identify training and development needs, inform job design and restructuring, and lastly, support performance management. But the most important part of job evaluation is to work out how much that job is worth and how much should be paid for that job. And how do we do that? Through job evaluation, we're able to put certain number of points or measurements on that job to say that this job requires so much skill or so much leadership. For example, the job requires more responsibility. It requires a higher level of skills or qualification. It requires you to be able to solve problems or make decisions. Every one of these factors would mean that the employee gets a higher salary. If you're just a waitress, then you only pay for job responsibilities and duties. Does a waitress need to have experience? Well, probably if she has 1 or 2 years experience, you'd get a little bit more. Is there any particular education for a waitress? No. However, if you're employing a doctor, he has to be a university graduate licensed to practice as a doctor. So of course, the job evaluation and his salary will be higher depending on what type of doctor he is. Okay, common methods used in job evaluation include job ranking, job classification, point factor system, factor comparison method, and market-based approach. Job ranking means we rank jobs in order of importance and value, or job classification means grouping jobs into categories based on responsibilities. In some job evaluation systems, like the Hay method, the Hay method is one of the world's most famous methods that big companies use to actually evaluate jobs, especially managers' jobs, before they hire them and pay salaries. In the Hay method, they actually score points for each of the employees' required skills, and based on the total points, they convert it into a dollar value. Now, you wouldn't use that method unless you're a big company with like 200 plus employees. If you're just a small company, you would probably use job classification and job ranking as your job evaluation methods. Now, if any of you need help in evaluating a job for your small business, you can WhatsApp me and message me, and I'd be happy to help you and guide you. Now, once you've done job evaluation, and if you want to check that that salary is the correct salary, just 1 moment, please. A salary survey is a research. So once you've done the job evaluation and you're evaluating a job, you need to basically then double check whether the salary in the evaluation is correct or not. Once you've decided on whether the salary evaluation, once you've done the job evaluation and you think that the salary is going to be $1,000 a month, okay, you need to make sure that that's correct. So how do you do that? You can either check what other people are paying the same job, or you can basically go and do what's called a salary survey. Now, salary surveys are not surveys you do yourself. Salary surveys are published on the internet. For example, you can go to a Philippines salary survey and look for the salary of a waitress, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year experience. So salary survey is usually information collected from 50 or more companies, usually up to 100 companies, about how much they pay a specific job. And they actually define people with 1 to 3 years experience, 3 to 5 years experience, etc. And salary surveys can be very beneficial to you to make sure you're paying the right salary. All right, so once we've looked at that, let me go into a little bit more complicated model in job evaluation, just so you understand what we're talking about, or manpower planning. So manpower planning first comes on forecasting activity levels. You need to understand your operational business plan before you can make the forecast. You need to understand when will there be a demand for people. Then you need to actually take the factors affecting the demand and supply of people. Okay? You need to do workforce analysis to find out whether the people you need are readily available. Is it going to be easy for you to hire 50 waitresses in December because the restaurant's going to be busy due to Christmas? So you need to take both the demand for people, how many you need, and the availability of supply into account in advance. So you know how hard it's going to be to recruit those waitresses, and do you need to start early or can you start in November? Is there a lot of waitresses available to work? Now, once you've done that, you come up with a manpower workforce plan, okay, and it tells you that to hire waitresses in December, this is the salary you have to pay, and you actually then decide that you start the recruitment in November. But if you leave it until December, and now it's the 5th of December, and you're getting busy for Christmas, and it's going to take you 2 weeks to hire a waitress, you will lose business opportunity. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? All right. And by doing manpower planning, you get to understand whether you need to change the job, whether you need more people to do the job, or whether you have enough people and you're able to give them more duties, save you employing someone else. All right, so manpower planning, once we've done all of that, remember we've done job analysis, we've prepared a job description, we've done a job evaluation, we've done a salary survey, and we've decided what salary we pay. It's time for action planning. It's time to create detailed action plans, including timelines, and getting your senior management to approve the budget, the salary for the number of people you need to hire. For example, I need 20 waitresses in December to work for 2 months, December and New Year when we're busy. So you need to go to your senior management and say 20 waitresses, 200 pesos an hour. They have to work 10 hours each, 5 days a week for 2 months. You need to get that budget pre-approved. So at the end of November, you can just start the recruiting process. You need to implement, recruit and hire, train and develop. And then as time goes through, start promoting the more experienced people and give them career development opportunities so they do not walk away. On a regular basis, you need to monitor the number of people they have working for you. You need to look at how many of them are getting close to retirement and need to be replaced. And you need to plan on how you're going to replace them. For example, if the restaurant manager has told you that next month he wants to retire, he's already 50, you need to plan in advance through manpower planning. Do you have someone that you're going to promote, or do you need to look for another restaurant manager that's already trained? And then we have what's called review and revision. You regularly review and revise the manpower plans to ensure alignment with changing business needs and objectives. This is an example of a manpower resource sheet. For example, we have the location. We have in the marketing department, manager, supervisor, okay, workman, clerical, positions. So you can add there, I need 1 manager, I need 2 supervisors, I need 3 workmen, I need 1 clerical. Now, once you've gone on and plotted all the jobs you have and how many positions you need, what you need to do then is then you start checking the salary, and you make sure you have the right salary, provided you already have a job description. Now, if you've got a manager here, this should be a job that you have a job description for. So before you start counting how many people you need to make sure that all the jobs that you have in your company have a job description. Okay, so this is what all the department managers would tell the HR manager. The HR manager would then look at the job descriptions and start the manpower planning process, because they would also tell the HR manager, when do I need these people? Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to get out of here, and I'm going to actually, just for a moment, please. Manpower planning template, and basically it gives you instructions on how to use it, and then down the bottom it tells you how to fill it in, and then you have all the functions. You have the instructions, the outputs, okay, you have the workforce plan, which you have to fill in. You have to tell it when you want them to start. It's an existing vacancy or a new vacancy, the department, the actual code, if you want, for the job, the estimated salary and the level, and then you could go on and calculate the different salary. You can even tell it which country you're in. If you're in the US, you can put the 401k percentage in. If not, you can take that out. You can then tell it what sort of job code you want, if you want to use a job code, and you can go on basically and calculate your estimated salary, your annual salary. You can even calculate the 401k, or in the Philippines, the equivalent to the 401k. And then you have a list of all the jobs by department, which you can key in, and the actual chart shows you how to do that, all right? So basically what this is a simple model of a manpower planning process, okay? So what I can do is I will send you the actual link, and some of you can try to use the link. If you don't know how to use it based on the instructions, you let me know. I'd be happy to provide you a simpler link. But this link is one of the best practice tools for you to actually learn how to plot the cost of your labor and plan the cost of your manpower. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? Yes or no? Yes? Very good. Okay, let me go on with my slides. Just one moment, please. Let me find my slides now. I put them down because of the problem we had. Just one moment. All right, so as we go from here, what we've said there is that first you need to find out from all your people or from all your department managers as to how many people you need for each job. Now, this Excel template, if you want, you can let me know. I'll send it to you. You basically draw one for each department or location, and you put all the departments in there, marketing, admin, and basically you would name all the departments across the top. You would list all the jobs in each department, and then you would put down how many you have now for each one, okay? Or if you're starting a new business, you would put how many you actually need. Now, what you should do first is put here basically how many you have in black, all right? And then you could tell your managers, I have 2, but I need 1 more. So they put 1 in red, okay? So there is different ways of doing this. And when I send you this chart, you will actually get instructions on how to use it. But what this is used for, usually in major companies, is I send this out as head of HR to all my managers. I say, tell me, for the next 12 months, how many managers you need? He'll say 1. How many supervisors will you need? 2. Now, when this comes back to HR, HR will go back and check the department. He has 1, he needs 1 more. He has 3, he needs 1 more. So this tells you what his requirements are for the year. Then HR has to find out how many he has and how many more he needs. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Do you all understand that? Yes or no? Yes? Okay, good. Let's go on. Okay, all right. So once we go from that, manpower planning is really important. By following these steps, organizations can ensure effective manpower planning, which is critical for achieving business success. There's 12 functions of human resources, and these create a value proposition for every person in the company. And in these 12 functions of HR, when you put them together, they all focus on doing the same thing. It is the image a company reflects to its employees. Rewards are thus much more than just financial. Here is a non-exhaustive overview of all the things you should take into account when you decide the salary. The basic salary, how much you're going to reward for performance, are you going to pay bonuses? All right. How much job security are you providing your employees based on whether you're paying average salary, above market salary? Are you going to give them a sense of autonomy and responsibility? Will they have opportunity to grow with your company? And are you providing them feedback on a regular basis so they improve and can get promoted? All of these things come in because in order for you to satisfy people and to make sure that your manpower planning is effective, first you have to have a plan for employee development. You have to have a basic pay which is competitive. You have to provide employees recognition for doing well. You have to care about their well-being and not expect them to work 20 hours a day by having enough people to do the job. Because if you need 20 waitresses and you employ 6, and 6 waitresses are doing the job of 20, and they're getting tired and taking sick leave all the time, that is not well-being of the employee. You should provide them a job that's meaningful, that they enjoy, that they see that they have a future to learn and develop. The variable pay you provide them has to be based on the basic pay plus all the benefits that come with it. Base pay plus overtime or base pay plus benefits. For example, it could be dry cleaning allowance, or it could be variable pay during Christmas for during the Christmas season because they're busier and they work harder. You also have to look in the benefits that go with the job. How much leave do they have? How many days annual leave do they get? How many days sick pay are they entitled to? You provide them a mobile phone allowance if they're managers. You pay the laundry for your waitresses to keep their uniform clean. And do you have a team of managers who can credibly teach them, train them, and reward them to do the job? Let's talk about some companies that have implemented this. Look at 3K or 3UK, a British telecom company. They implemented a well-being strategy to support their employees throughout the introduction of the 5G network and beyond. Some of the initiatives included a free flu jab, a meeting-free period based on Wednesdays, and 3 paid off days a year for personal moments. So they gave them a free jab, a meeting-free period on Wednesdays. So on Wednesday afternoons, they could do whatever they needed without being forced to go to meetings. And they gave them an extra 3 days off a year where they could just schedule with their manager to take a day off without using their annual leave. The strategies were successful, and they had 83% of office employees saying that they love working for the company. They didn't pay them extra money. It was just by providing them benefits. And what's more, the flu jab program reduced the number of people going sick by 25% in the 1 year. Let's look at Apple on the other hand. Apple's HR strategy, Apple is well known as a different company in many ways. Instead of promising work-life balance, Apple emphasizes hard work for all employees. The Apple career concept is for employees to have their careers rather than promising career advancement. The career path is not fully endorsed by Apple. Employees should inquire about other jobs in different units. So at Apple, if you want to get promoted, you have to look for a vacancy in a different department and apply for it. But Apple will not go and search for who's the right person to put there unless you apply for it. This Apple career concept is for employees to have their careers rather than promising career advancement. So Apple says to people, don't wait for us to give it to you. If you think you're suitable, apply for it. What does Apple do differently in talent management? Apple is unique, and Steve Jobs was very particular about this. Apple doesn't offer a training and development program. Instead, Apple outsources this work to its employees. Apple says training is available, but Apple does not create learning plans or offer recommendations. You, as the employee, tell us what you need, tell us what training you need, we'll send you and we'll pay for it. Does everybody understand the difference between 3UK and Apple? Yes or no? Two totally different companies with two totally different approaches. 3UK offers benefits. They train and develop. Apple offers benefits, but Apple doesn't focus on development. It tells the employees to focus on their own development. And that comes back to the basic strategy, ladies and gentlemen, academically, that Steve Jobs said, when I employ people to do the job, I employ the best talent. I don't tell them how to do the job. I tell them what I want them to achieve within a certain time. He said, don't employ a doctor and tell him how to be a doctor. Employ a doctor and set him goals to achieve his job treating patients. Steve Jobs set that philosophy in concrete at Apple. At Apple, managers cannot be employed as managers unless they have the correct technical experience to manage their department. That's why Apple is one of the highest paying telco companies in the world, because Steve Jobs had this philosophy, reward people for their efforts. Now, when you look at manpower planning, ladies and gentlemen, and when we look at job evaluation, we usually pay salaries based on 4 quartiles. Let me explain. If you employ a waitress in the first year of her work experience, and you look at the highest salary for a waitress, for example, the most experienced waitress working in the Philippines now earns $1,000 a month. But because the new waitress only has 1 year's experience, she goes in the 25% quartile of the maximum salary. So she would get 25% less. She would get $750 a month. Okay, so if she has 3 years experience, okay, she would probably go to the 75% quartile, and she would get a higher percentage, which would be the higher percentage of the $1,000. Okay, now let me ask you, how many companies pay their staff 100 or 90% quartile? No one. There's no company in the Philippines or in Singapore that says the highest salary for this job in the job market based on 10 years experience is $10,000. No company currently in Singapore, other than some very, very big banks, pay above the 90% quartile. What do we mean by that? Today, I want to employ John as an executive chef in my restaurant. John is a Filipino executive chef with 10 years experience. Now, on the Singapore job salary scale, the highest salary that has ever been earned by an executive chef in Philippine cuisine is $12,000 a month. But if I'm bringing John into my company for the first time, I would never offer him that. I would put him in the 70% quartile. So I would calculate 70% of $12,000, and that would be his starting salary. Does everybody understand what I mean by that? So when Steve Jobs brought on the idea of employing the best people to do the job and allowing them to do it and paying them the highest salary, The reason behind that was so he put them all in the 90% quartile. Do you understand what I mean by that? Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay. Is there anybody here that thinks that they're the highest paid person in the industry in their job? Anybody here? No? I used to be a university professor. I was a university professor for 2 years. And when I took the job and traveled from Australia to Thailand, well, they told me that I'd get the highest salary, which is about 12,000 Australian dollars a month. So when I got there, they told me that my first 3 months was probation at $9,000 a month. And after probation, they'd increased me. They increased me to $11,000 a month. It took me 1 year to get 100% quartile at $12,000. Okay, so why do companies do that? It's because they're rewarding people based on their level of skill and motivating people to work harder. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay. Would any of you like to have the link to the manpower chart to calculate manpower? Who wants the link? Does anybody want a link? Okay, if you want the link, Mr. Goldman, can you put out my number in the WhatsApp box now? Just send me a message today with your request for the link and I'll send it to you. Otherwise, when you get the material on Tuesday in PDF, I'll make sure we also send you a link or a QR code to use. But if you need it urgently, please send me a WhatsApp and I'll send it to you tonight. But on Tuesday, when you get your cert, you'll get your email with the PDF of your cert, and there'll be a link in your email to the actual template. Is everybody okay with that? Yes or no? Yeah? Okay. Has everybody understood the concept of manpower planning? What I'd like you to do is tell me, what would you like to learn next? Would you like to learn job analysis? Does everybody want to learn job analysis? How to do job analysis? So what we might do is we'll arrange one session to deal with job analysis, job description, and job evaluation, all right? But job evaluation is very small because you can't do it, but I'll show you the concept. But you need to understand job analysis and job description. So I'll probably arrange that either at the next Biz Talk or the one after. Is everybody happy with that? Put your hands up if you want to attend that, okay? And when I do that, I'll also give you a template for job descriptions, and I'll give you a template for job analysis, just like the template I gave you today for manpower planning, all right? And today, I've given you a template for manpower planning in the US, but I'll also share with you a manpower planning template for Asia. So I'll give you two, one which is based on US laws and one which is based on Asian countries. But remember, in the column where it says 401k, you can change that. In Australia, you must contribute superannuation. In Singapore, you must contribute CPF. So the 401k column, instead of being 20% as per US regulations, that would change to 5% or 7%, depending on the superannuation required contribution or the CPF required contribution, which is Central Provident Fund or superannuation. Does everybody understand what I mean by 401k, superannuation, etc.? Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay, in some countries, you have to pay a training levy for every employee. So that training levy of 1% or 2%, you put in that 401k. So when you put the salary, the system will always add on the 1%. So you know how much your liability is going to be for introducing them. Okay? Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, all right, please don't send me your number in the chat box. Please WhatsApp me, send me a WhatsApp, and I'll reply to your WhatsApp. I can't take your numbers down, sir. I'm sorry, Mary Nin, you have to WhatsApp me. I'll reply to you. I can't take your number down. I have 200 plus students, ma'am. Send me a WhatsApp and I'll reply to you. Govind, can you send my WhatsApp number to everyone? Ladies and gentlemen, if you want the link, you send me a WhatsApp saying my name is Maricel. I would like you to send me the link and I'll reply to you. All right. Does anybody have any questions about what we've learned today? No? Yes or no? Has everybody enjoyed this talk? Put up your hands. Come on. Oh, guys, God. All right. Okay, I'm sorry we had a problem with the link for the Excel sheet. I'm really sorry. It's because we've taken it from somewhere else and it's being stubborn. It doesn't want to open, but that's okay. We'll deactivate the security on it and I'll send the link to all of you. All right, guys, everyone? Yes or no? Put up your hands. Thank you, guys. God bless you all. Wally from Kyrgyzstan saying, I love you all. And remember that learning is a continuous journey. If you stop learning today, you've gone from an active state of mind to a passive state of mind. And one day you tell your grandchildren, sorry, sweetheart, grandma cannot buy you a Christmas present because grandma has no money. All right? That's not what you want to tell your grandchildren. You want to say to your grandchildren, go to school, get an education, get a good job, enjoy life. Education is like the journey on a train. It's an ongoing journey. Does everybody understand what I mean by that? Yes or no? Are you sure? Okay. On behalf of my co-host, Mr. Goldman, my boss today, thank you, sir, for having me here, Mr. Goldman. And I'm sorry about the link, Mr. Goldman. It didn't work, so it took us about 30 seconds. So everybody, I thank you all for being here today. From Wally to all of you, from Bishkek in Kyrgyzstan, where the temperature's just gone about 32 degrees, overcast. It's a nice warm day. I wish you a very happy evening. Remember, manpower planning, a critical element to controlling your costs in running a business. Goodbye and good luck. Thank you, everyone. Good night, Mr. Gold.